Hello and welcome. It's Coach Action Jackson, and I'm here with another episode of Client Success Stories. I've got Fred here because Fred is a new inductee into the Action Jackson Fitness Hall of Fame. Based on these numbers, you're going to see why. He lost 20 pounds. He lost 12% body fat. Incredible number. He gained 5 pounds of lean muscle mass and lost 4 inches off of his waist. Also increased his strength score by 22 points. Wow, those are some incredible numbers. Fred, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, so my name is Fred. Cindy, I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and I've had a very interesting journey with Coach. All those stats were unbelievable. I've tried to get there for years, and you did it, Coach. You did it. You did it, and I appreciate it.
Fred, I would say that you did it, right? So obviously, I was the guide. I kind of helped. I directed you. I gave you the direction and, of course, held you accountable. But you had to lift the weights. You had to eat the food. You had to do the workouts. You had to get the sleep. You had to do all of those things. So don't discount that. And remember that you did the work. You earned the results. And that's also why you get the confidence and the energy and all of the amazing benefits from doing it. It's because you did it, not because I did it. So I just want to emphasize that to start. But on the surface, losing 20 pounds doesn't sound all that crazy, but 12% body fat, now that's a huge jump, especially when you add on 5 pounds of muscle in the process. So the before and after photos they look incredible. You also took 4 inches off your waist, which is great too. So with all the stats and all the great stuff, that's amazing. But let's rewind it a little bit and go back to where you were previously. Now, privately, you said to me, I tried all these other things and nothing worked. Where were you at before we started working together in terms of your health, your fitness, and where you were just at kind of mentally and physically?
Yeah. So, man, it's if we go back. Like you said, I've tried everything. I've tried, and this is not a knockoff on anything out there, man. Great coaches out there, great programs and everything. I've tried all that stuff from the P90s and all that. So I kind of have an idea of how to do virtue training. I've gone to the gyms and I've done all that stuff. And some of it was working, CrossFit was working. Then health-wise, I got into some health issues. Had to go undergo 3 heart surgeries in 3 years, so consecutive. So coming out of that and trying to lose that weight again was just an uphill battle. And got me a tonal during the, and this is not specific. The program is not specific just to tonal. Tonal just helps. You can do these exercises on any gym, so equipment. But I got me a tonal, and that's how I met you, right? They have different programs there, and I'm like, oh man, this guy is funny and very, it looks like an approachable guy. And that's how I met you, Coach. And I'm like, hey, let me Google you up, and lo and behold, you had a program for private clients. And I say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I truly enjoyed myself doing your tonal program. So that's how I got started, and it's been a journey. Losing almost, it's more than 20 pounds, but yeah, like you say, the weight just comes with the program, the way you set it up. You make us understand, hey, this is how macros work, this is how food affects your weight, and this is how we're gonna walk through that and you created this program that got me from 0 to almost 100 in 4 weeks. It started with 40% body fat and losing almost 12-13% of it in 4 weeks is ridiculous, right?
4 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the difference with this program versus a lot of the other stuff that you've done previously? Like, why did this work?
That's a good question. I want to say first, the coach, the trainer you're getting, right? Like I mentioned, you're very approachable. You understand the struggles people go through, right? You encourage us to. When I say us, all you, everybody in your program, you're encouraging. Getting to you, access to you is not hard, really. Even if it's virtual, it's not hard. All I have to do is just text or email through the app and like, hey, coach, I need 30 minutes here on this day, and boom, confirmed. To talk through what my issues are and how I'm doing it. So that's number one, very approachable, and that is very important because there's some coaches and I'm not the only one feeling this way, but you go to the gyms, they really good at selling the program, and then once you get in, they just don't have time for you because they have other clients who have, and to get to them, it's almost impossible, right? So being somebody who's approachable and understanding is number one. For me, that was number one. And then how you just laid it down and teaching me on how, hey, this is the fundamentals. Let's just go back to, let's look at your food. Phase one, we're going to do this. Phase two, we're going to do this. Phase three, we're going to do this. Phase four, we're going to do this. And each phase, you're just ramping it up, right? And you get stronger as you get leaner, and you get stronger and get stronger. So I think that was the biggest difference for me, kind of person you are in terms of approach and how you approach stuff. So
I love that. That's fantastic. I appreciate that, Fred. It really does mean a lot to me, and it honestly touches me. It really does. I always get a little emotional during these kinds of interviews, and I feel it there because there are so many programs that just aren't any good, and there's a lot of coaches out there who overpromise and vastly underdeliver. And part of that is really access as well, where it's like, oh, am I going to get to touch the cloak? Am I going to get a little bit of time from you? And it just doesn't happen because they're too busy selling and marketing the program. And that's one of the fundamental differences that I made with Action Jackson Fitness a long time ago. Was we focus on the program, we focus on getting our clients results. And even going back to our little exchange in the very beginning of this talk, championing our clients. They're the rock stars. They're the stars of the show. Let them get their light. I used to try to sell this program. Look at me. I'm amazing. Oh, you want to train with me? And that just doesn't work. And it doesn't feel good for me. It doesn't feel authentic. When I started putting my clients on the pedestal and saying, they're the stars, they're the rock star, look at them. Wow. Number one, the clients enjoyed the process so much more. But number two, people got better results. And number three, then we start getting referrals and other people, and we're getting people such great results that then the results speak for themselves, and we don't need to spend as much time marketing and selling and everything else. That's why so few coaches in programs have interviews like this, because they don't have clients that are willing to share their stories because they're not getting great results. So I really do appreciate that, Fred. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. So
it is the truth. I mean, it is the truth. It's a fantastic program, and it doesn't stop there. There's once you go. I want to say, just maybe emphasize the marketing approach you were talking about. It's important that, hey, I looked you up, and everybody who's just been through your program has had pos- positive things. You're like, hey, dude, it's well worth it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll try it and see how it goes. If I don't like it, I'll just cancel it. And man, it's been a blast. It's been a blast.
well, it's been a privilege to work with you, Fred, and just be a part of your journey and seeing the changes, not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally, everything. It's been, I mean, what a joy for us on our end as well. So thank you for that. One other thing that you mentioned was the focusing on the fundamentals. And I think this is a really important point, is a nice lesson to learn if you're listening at home is, everyone wants to focus on the ninja crazy advanced technique, this, give me the crazy stuff, Jackson, that you did when you were men's health fitness modeling. And it's like, no, 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 no. Let's focus on the basics and do the basics really well, because being advanced doesn't mean that you don't do the beginner basic stuff. It just means that you do that stuff in addition to many other things. So let's build those skills first and set the foundation. Then we can get to the quote unquote ninja advanced expert stuff. And funny enough, if you do those things well, then you're going to get to be more advanced. That's how you get there. So I really can just appreciate you focusing on the fundamentals, which is so great. So the next thing I want to ask is like, what were some of the obstacles that you faced along the way, and how did you overcome those things?
I mean, there's personal obstacles. There's the physical part of it. When you start this program, it's fun to do, and also at the same time, it really pushes your body to the, you know what I mean, to the extreme. You're like, hey, I can't believe I can actually do this. You know, once you're done with it, you're like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna go through this exercise, right? And then you're looking in, you're like, hey, I got 30 more minutes of this. I'm like, oh wow, this is just gonna tear me up. But once you're done, you're like, whoa, that felt good, you know, and I'm gonna be ready for tomorrow. So the physical part of it, especially when I was starting up, you know, I didn't have my fundamentals right. Of course, that just comes with not knowing anything about the details of, you know, what it takes to be get in shape, right? And there was that struggle, which over time, and you kept on encouraging me. I remember you're like, hey, Fred, just stick with it, man. Don't just, you know, don't give up. And sometimes I'm like, hey, coach, why am I feeling so weak, man? And it's because, hey, we are looking at your macros. So there are a lot of things that were playing around, right? It's what you are eating, how much of it you're eating, and how that affects your body in terms of strength, in terms of you know, proteins and all that stuff, all these things that you need to look into. It's just not the exercise part. So in the beginning, I was struggling with that. Then you get into a rhythm, and you're like, all right, let's do it, right? And then from a personal standpoint, man, dude, I've been going through a lot, but when it's time to work out, it's time to work out, man, because it's you feel fresh, you feel, man, this is, despite everything I've been going through, I don't mind doing it tomorrow, right? And you know, you get the breaks, so it's not just working out, working out, working out, working out, working out. No, you get the breaks in between, and you have your hit days, you know, where you're not just doing strength. You know, you do your cardio, which is also challenging too, but very enjoyable when you're doing it. And once you're done with it, you're like, oh, that was something. So yeah.
So how did you push yourself in those early days? Because I know that's a big issue for a lot of people is that they start, and to your point, they feel weak in the beginning because let's say they're cutting their food down, maybe they're in a caloric deficit now, not eating as much. They're doing these workouts that are strenuous, that are pushing them. It makes you feel like you feel weak, you feel out of place, you feel like a fish out of water. It's very like a shock to the system. How do you continue to show up day after day and push to get to the other side when you start to get stronger? How do you endure that period, that low point? How did you do that?
So this is interesting because I haven't watched. That's an interesting question, and I haven't mentioned this. One of the things that really helped me is the community you have on Facebook. So, and I remember you calling like, "Hey, Fred, you need to join my group." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't do social media." Like, dude, just join it. I'm like, man, oh, then all right, I'll join it, and I'm glad I did, because there's some days I'm just, man, I know I'm like, hey, coach, I need to talk to you, but you know, it's 24 hours or a couple of hours before I talk to you the next day. I'll just jump into the Facebook and ask questions. I'm like, yo, man, this is how I feel. Is there anybody going through this? And within minutes, everybody's like, hey, this is not you, man. Just stick with the program. Just believe in the system, and you're gonna get through it. And there was that support, right? People who've gone through it, people who are going through it, and you're encouraging each other. You're like, hey, what? what phase are you in, what week? And you're like, oh, we're in the same week, so you're doing this. I'm like, yeah, but although it's different because we're all different, even though we're in the same week, but the concept of just support, like, hey, I'm going. This is how I'm feeling, man. And that was something, man. You don't get that. You really don't get that. You might get it in just a regular gym or any other trainer, but where you have hundreds of people like telling you, trust the system, bro. Don't quit. Trust the system is going to be okay. So that was how I went through it, really, and obviously emailing you all the time and texting you. I need to talk to you right away, man. So yeah, that's how I went through it.
So it sounds like accountability and support was big for you. And absolutely, reaching out to your mentor, your coach, that's helpful. But the problem sometimes with that is there might be a delay before you can talk to them for several hours or whatever a day. But the other thing is sometimes it can be where your mentor or coach, they're kind of, at least I've experienced this in business coaching when I purchased business coaching, which I've spent a ton of money on business coaching because I really firmly believe in investing in myself. But when I pay for business coaching, sometimes you feel like, oh, well, easy for you to say you're a millionaire, easy for you to say you got a six pack. It feels better and different when you hear it from other people who are going through it, who you feel are like more like your peers, and like, this person's just like me, and they're telling me that they dealt with the same thing and now they're on the other side, so maybe this can work for me too, maybe I should listen.
Exactly. That's a very important point. Sometimes you're like, man, coach, that's easy for you to do, man. You're like, you've been doing this for years, right? And then, but you get in or you get online and you get people who are just like, hey, I'm going through this and this is how, and like, oh, you're just like me, man. So they're encouraging you. So that's there's that empathy because you're going through the same thing, right? So sympathy, yeah, yeah. So
During your transformation, what were some of the emotional and mental shifts that you noticed, and I guess how do you feel like those maybe contributed to your overall success?
first one was the energy, the amount of energy, man. I mean, I drink coffee, but the amount of energy, you're just like, boom, let's do it. You're always up and ready to go. That was number one. Then, of course, some of the you just get a clear mind, right? Everything now seems to be much more clear. You can focus more. You just start feeling better. You're not dragging yourself around, and that just comes with losing the weight. But that's just even just the emotional part of the process, right? Yeah, man. I mean, it's different. It's really really different. It is, to be honest. It is.
That's wonderful. Another thing that you mentioned, and I just want to touch on this quickly, and we don't have to get into the details, but obviously, like anybody, you got business, career, family, all this stuff going on. How did you manage to prioritize this as you're going through your day? And I know, I mean, I've personally spoken to you many times, so I know you were going through a lot of stuff business wise. Like, how did you possibly manage that and be able to partition that and make that shift into, workout mode, and then getting back and how did that benefit you kind of as you've gone through this journey?
From that standpoint, yeah. So running a business, then you have your regular job that you go to, then the kids and all that stuff. But I would say the accountability, right? You've set up the program in a way that it keeps you accountable. You have to, and then there's all those checkups, right? It's not, hey, I want you to do this, and then I'm not going to see you until 1 month later. So every week on, I believe it's Sundays, right? And you're like, hey, you have to put in, your stats, and so that accountability was there. So that kept me focused. It kept me going. I knew regardless of what is going on, this has to be done. So if I have time to go out and do something, then I might have as well time look for time to work out and do this program. So it was either I do it fasting early in the morning before the day starts, or after work, So, but it had to be done. Just like anything else, you have to find time to do it, and you're obviously investing in yourself. So if you can't do that, then how do you get to do the rest of the things that you're supposed to do if you can't have a clear mind? You have to be focused. So it forced me to do that. The accountability and reaching out to you and like, hey, I know if I don't, the coach is gonna see this and he's like gonna ask me a few questions. So yeah, I need to get on there and do it.
I think that's a really important point that you just mentioned. It's that forcing function. I'll give you a perfect prime example. I'm a little tired today. It's been a long day. It's the end of the day, and I did not want to jump on and have to do all this energy and interview and all this stuff. I was like, oh man, all I want to do right now is sit on the couch and relax and watch some Netflix. But the commitment that I made to you, the scheduling on the calendar, I have this commitment to do this at this time. And I don't want to let Fred down. I can't leave him hanging. So I got to jump on here and I got to bring my best and I got to bring my energy and I got to bring my focus. So even though prior to starting 20 minutes ago, I didn't feel like it, I was tired, hungry, wanted to sit on the couch. Here I am giving my best because I committed. We have a forcing function and that makes me jump on and do this. So I think an underrated aspect of my program, but honestly, any program that you could potentially invest in is going to be the accountability and support and making sure you have that forcing function that's going to make sure that you can push yourself and follow through. Because leaving it up to your future self, I got news for you. Your future self is not going to be stronger, better, more disciplined, and have more willpower unless you start doing those things today, now, and executing on a daily basis. Make it easy on your future self by getting that accountability and support system set up so that it forces you to do the things that you need to do to get the outcomes that you want.
Exactly. And like I said, I mean, I've done a lot of virtual programs, and yeah, it's exactly that. Hey, here, once they convince you, like, hey, you're in, pay, boom, this is the program, go do it. Then you're like, all right, cool. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, you're like, all right, I'll get to it. Now, that accountability is great. So if there's anybody out there watching this and you're doubting whether this works or not, I can assure you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. With 3 heart surgeries, anybody can do it. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Fred. And coming from you, it does mean a lot because I know you've been through many other programs before. And for somebody like yourself to go through other programs and say, this is different, that really does mean a lot. And I know how much work we put into it. This is 10 years in the making. This month is our Action Jackson Fitness. Makes me like, geez, I want to cry. This is our 10-year anniversary this month for Action Jackson Fitness. I took on my first in-person training client in San Francisco in November 10 years ago. 5 years ago, took on my first online client. So this program has been evolving now for 10 years, really, is what it is, and 5 of those being online. So, this is not our first rodeo. And I appreciate every single one of my clients more than anything. But we've been doing this for a while. We've been able to perfect this system, and just like training, coaching, anything, it's just been a constant iteration. We didn't start here. We started with one of these interviews. Now we're up to over 70. We have over 70 of these recorded interviews now, which is incredible. But it started just one at a time, and it's just been consistent iteration. So, man, Fred, it's been incredible. One or two last final questions. What would you say to somebody who's sitting at home and maybe they're overwhelmed, they're kind of struggling with their own fitness journey, they're frustrated, they're fed up, they're spinning their wheels. Maybe they got a tonal at home, they're kind of jumping around, they're not sure what to do. What would you say to that person? How do they get started? How do they get out of their rut and get moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I look at it. I look at it this way: because we do invest in a lot of things. We create time for a lot of things that you don't even need to be doing, right? You have time to go out to for dinner. You have time to go out to the movies. You create time. We schedule time and block our days to do all these things, and all those are great, but you have to invest in yourself, right? You have to invest in yourself to be able to do those things, right? If for me, I got young kids who, they're not young, but they're young, right? I like to see them grow up and see their kids, and how do I invest in myself? I have to stay healthy, right? So if you're out there now looking in and you're on the fence, like, hey, this is maybe one of those other, just like any other program, you're on YouTube and all those crazy things you see on YouTube. Yes, are they there? Yes, they're out there, but this is different. I can assure you, this is different. It's worked for me. It's worked for a lot of other people. You will be amazed on how the program, and you can tell, like, coach, the way you say that, hey, you've been doing this for a while. I can tell you've been doing it for a while because the way you have a support system is, so it's just not you, but I can tell there's a support system where it keeps things moving. You're not stuck. So, guys and girls, if you're out there, please, 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 please do not doubt this thing works. And I'm coming, although I'm done, I'm coming back, coach. You know that. I'm signing up for the next stage phase of your program. So if I'm willing to come back and invest in myself, that tells you it's a testament to the results. And it's been great, man. And it works. And again, this I just want to emphasize, this is for everybody, whether you have a tonal or not, whether you have any other exercise equipment out there or at home. This program works regardless of what you have. Oh yeah, and I forgot, if you're traveling, there's something for you too. So you don't really need to worry about a gym if you don't have access to a gym. But if you do, there's something for you too. So if if your work consists of traveling or you're going on vacation, no worries, you can still put it in. So there you go. Sign up and invest in yourself.
Fred, thank you so much for that. And I think you're right about investing in yourself. It's so critical. I've invested well over $100,000 in my own coaching, and I just think it's so important. And so many people are scared to do it, whether it's because they're afraid they're going to waste the money, or it's not going to work, or sometimes they're even afraid that to like put themselves in that vulnerable position to potentially succeed or fail, right? That's scary for a lot of people. But I think you're right. You have to invest in yourself because it's going to give you that accountability. It's going to give you that urgency. It's going to give you the shortcut. And more importantly, it's going to make sure that you don't stumble and hit the roadblocks that everybody else has hit all the time, over and over again. I spent, on just this past Sunday, I spent like 3 hours dialed in setting up my own workout program. Like, that's how you have to invest in yourself, and the planning and the strategy that's got to go into your plan. Now, I don't love doing that myself, but if you're not willing to do that for yourself, then you've got to outsource that and get somebody else to do it, because you got to sit down, you got to plan, you got to put in some strategy. If you're just randomly picking workouts or programs, just jumping around from one thing to the next, oh, keto's popular, let's do that. Oh, my fitness influencer is doing this other thing, I'm going to do this now. Like, that's just not going to get you the results that you want. You need to get leverage, and the way you get leverage is by combining hard work and strategy. So you need to put that in, and whether you invest the time yourself and study and learn and set things up, or you invest the money and then somebody else sets it up for you and teaches it to you, you got to do one of those two things. So I appreciate you for trusting me, for investing in yourself. And I just want to take a second and really acknowledge you for all the hard work that you put in, the incredible results that you've gotten. Remember, you earned those results. You did the workouts, you ate the food, you did the burpees, you did everything. You pushed yourself, you got uncomfortable, and you did all of it while managing all the responsibilities of, an adult man, which is incredible with a family. So I appreciate you, Fred. This It means a lot that you jumped on here to share your story. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much. You're a role model. You're an example. I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate those. I appreciate the kind words, and I'll be seeing you next month for the next steps.
All right, everybody. Remember, action's the difference between dreaming and succeeding. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Thank you.